Happy to say hello to the now retired Michael the Count Bisping. What an honor this is. Let's say hello to him right now. Michael, are you there?
Yes, I am here, Ariel.
What
That
about
is,
that intro?
I was going to say, that is quite the intro that I'm not sure how to immediately follow that. Do I defend myself? Do I thank you? Do I say that's incredible? Do I say, listen, I'm a very busy man? I will start with thank you very much, Ariel. I really appreciate that.
Oh, well, I appreciate it as well. Did you know that today was the 2-year anniversary?
I had no idea until it popped up on my Instagram feed this morning. So, yeah, how about that? You know what? If I had known, maybe I would have waited another week.
I was thinking that too when you did it last week, but you know
Yeah.
what? Then I said, this is perfect. He did the whole, you went on those smaller shows, Believe You Me, I think it's called, but now you come on this show 2 years later. This is perfect. I couldn't script it, so I'm not that mad, I must say.
Ariel, it's not my fault that you're lazy and you only do one show a week. If you
That
did a
is
show at the end of the week, I would have been there. But, believe it or not, I do have other commitments that I have to attend to. And, yeah. But anyway, here I am.
this
You
this
know
is
what?
great.
It
Yes.
wasn't. It wasn't planned, actually, to retire, so to speak. But I flew into New York last Sunday, and whilst on the plane, I watched a movie called Journeyman. Now I knew my retirement was close, and it's something I contemplated very closely for a while. I've given a lot of thought to it. I knew I was going to be retired, but for some reason, I wasn't telling the UFC because you want to keep that door open. Fighting has been my security blanket, if you will, for a long time. Anytime you need a bit of money, you just take a fight. And once that door is closed, it's closed. So I was keeping it open. But I watched a movie called The Journeyman with Paddy Considine last Sunday on the plane, and it's about a boxer who suffers a traumatic brain injury in a fight, and it's a very, very sad, touching story, and it just made me realize, listen, now is the time. Obviously, my eye injuries are very visible, and that just prompted me. I said, you know what, enough is enough.
So what happens if you don't see that movie?
Pardon me.
What happens if you don't see that movie, if there are no signs? Is there a chance that at some point, like that obviously did something, a light went off, but prior to that, like, do you think there's a chance that, you do fight in 6 months or so, or do you think it was inevitable
No.
some other sign would have popped up and you would have came to your senses?
No, no. I was retired, but I just hadn't made it formal yet. Of course, I nearly fought in London. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a retirement fight in London, probably for all the wrong reasons. Probably just because you get that adoration and you get your moment in the limelight, you get to put your gloves down and all that type of stuff. But Audio Torres, my manager, he said, why? He said, that's going to be forgotten about pretty quickly. Is it worth taking more damage? And he's right. I mean, a little one night of glory, and maybe another, a lifetime of another injury. So, yeah, maybe if I hadn't seen that movie, it wouldn't have happened on Monday. Maybe I would have waited to this week on your show. How's that?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Were you like, if I was sitting next to you on that flight and you're watching them, are you bawling? Are you crying? Like when you have this epiphany,
Yeah,
what is the
yeah.
reaction?
I look like a little bitch. I kept having to wipe tears out of my eyes and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, listen, everyone knows me. I always have too much to say, whatever. But I am a very emotional person, and yeah, it's been a hell of a ride. It's been amazing. But I knew watching that movie, I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is the end. I can't do it to my family anymore. I can't do it to myself. Obviously my eye is in a terrible shape, and my good eye, I'm having a couple of issues with that as well. So I'm like, nobody wants to go blind, And a friend of mine as well said, if you went blind, you would give any amount of money in the world to get your sight back. And of course you would. So it just isn't worth it.
And I want to talk about that in a second, but I'm just curious, about the epiphany and the reaction. It was amazing because it happened a day after the Liverpool event, and
Mm,
here's this
yeah.
star and Darren Till and maybe the next Michael Bisping. There'll only be one, and there'll only be one first, but maybe he's the next. And so I'm wondering if at any point you thought, I threw out the idea last week. They hit your music, song 2 comes out, you walk out, you have gloves in your hands, maybe you put them down, you address the crowd, you say goodbye in your country in front of your fans. Did you ever consider just not having a retirement fight, but a retirement announcement in Liverpool?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, I mean that was the next best scenario for me. But just the way it happened, the sequence of events, it didn't allow for that. Of course, there isn't that, events in the UK aren't that regular. So, and I want to move on with the rest of my life. I need to make a decision. I need to stop, wondering and then lingering and hanging on. I need to make it definite. So, if I waited another 6 months, I might have changed my opinion and actually booked a fight, So I said, okay, listen, now's the time. Just do the right thing. Make it official. So there you go.
You always say the right things. You have the gift of gab, and I thought it was interesting while watching you on the podcast. Believe You Me, it's available every Monday, I do believe, with the great Luis J. Gomez. I appreciate the shout out, by the way, in the midst of it all. How great is that? I got
Thank you.
mentioned in the clip, in the retirement clip that will live on forever. What an honor that is for me. So thank you to both of you for mentioning me. But I noticed like you kind of wanted to move on. You didn't want to linger. You didn't want to sort of like dwell on it. It's a very short clip. It almost felt like you were a little bit bashful. Like you didn't want to celebrate yourself. Is that accurate, and why
Yeah,
so?
yeah. You know what? Well. I guess I sound big-headed if I say I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't know. So on the podcast that I do, of course, there's lots to talk about, but I'm conscious not to talk about myself too much, and I don't want every week to be a bloody tribute to myself on my own podcast because then you just, it's like people they just listen to hear me talk about myself. Nobody wants to hear that. Maybe a little bit here and there. So when I said that, I'm like, okay, well, we'll give it a few minutes and then let's just move on. But since then. To say, I keep saying, I've said it in tweets several times, I've been blown away. And really, that's the best way of describing it. The outpour of support and love and messages that I've received, it's just blown me away. I'm truly lost for words. Some respected journalists in our space have written the most tremendous articles. There's been tweets of support from British fighters that just saying how much he looked up to me and how I paved the way and opened the door. And honestly, I didn't think that people looked at me like that. I'm just a guy trying to look after my family and just trying to get on with life. Of course, I am conscious of, being the first champion and being around for a long time and things like that. But still, I didn't actually know people held me in such high regard. So I say thank you to all of them. And there's been so many tweets and Instagram messages that it's literally impossible to respond to them all. But if you're listening to this and you sent a message, then I can't thank you enough for those kind words. I've been literally blown away and yeah, speechless. Thank you.
You didn't expect that? You didn't know that you had that kind of impact not only on the sport but on your fellow fighters. You really truly didn't think it would be that kind of reaction?
I thought I'd get some support, yeah, of course, but I didn't think it'd just be this, this avalanche
Yeah.
of support and love that came my way. And as I say, it's hard not to shed a little tear when you're reading all these messages, and it also, of course, winning the belt is great and, making some money, that's fantastic. But then to see all this at the end of the career, it really validates it, and it makes all the hard work and sacrifice and injuries and time away from the family and missing birthdays with my children and things like that, makes it all worth it almost, So, yeah, again, thank you so much. No, I didn't, Ariel, to answer your question in short.
Was there one or two? Was there someone who reached out? Maybe you hadn't heard from them in a while, or they said something that really touched you that you've been through a lot. Was there any kind of message that you received from someone once the news got out that really felt, wow, this, I'm sure many of them meant a lot. I've seen some beautiful
Yeah.
tweets, and I can imagine why you got emotional. But is there one or two that really stood out?
I don't know. There was literally so many. It was hard, and just reading one after the other, after the other, after the other. It just, yeah, you can't help but get a little emotional. So many nice things, so many nice tribute videos on Instagram, and beautiful posts, and yeah, great words. So yeah, it's thank you truly to everybody. Yeah, blown away. That's the best way of putting it.
When did you tell your family? Did you tell them after the announcement? Did you tell them before you went on the air?
No, yeah, I guess I told them after. I said to my wife, I said, oh, by the way, I just officially retired on my podcast. It wasn't planned. It wasn't planned, much like everything I do in my life. It's kind of off the cuff. Yeah, as I say, I have been talking about it for a while, and I'm trying to work on a lot of other things outside the octagon. And I guess it's not fair to the UFC, and it's not fair to the UK office, and it's not fair to my family. There's a lot of people that you kind of keeping in the dark. So you've got to be true with people. So I'm like, enough is enough. My movie agent is like, Mike, can you just fucking officially retire so we can focus on this? And then I have other companies. Last week I was all over the bloody place doing other things. And I'm excited because, fortunately I've used, my platform as a fighter to, set myself up with other things that I can attack now aggressively and try and make the most out of these situations. That would be my advice to any fighter. You're really going to make the most of it while you're still in the spotlight. Once you're done, once you're washed up, well, not washed up, once you're retired, no one's overly concerned with hearing a washed up ex-fighter. Use your time in the spotlight to open as many doors as you can, make as many connections, as many relationships, as many types of different businesses as you can, and hopefully the sun will be shining after retirement.
Do you feel like you are set up well for the future now?
I mean, I'm certainly not set up financially to the point where I could just sit on my ass for the rest of my life and do nothing. No. But I have a lot of things going on. I have a company called Playline that I'm involved with, which is a daily fantasy sports app. You can download the app from the App Store. It's similar to a sports lottery. That's doing really well. We were at investor meetings in Toronto last week, and every single investment company that we met with all want to invest in the company. So we've got big things going on there. I'm involved with a healthcare company called Timmy Health. We launched soon. You allow people to monetize their health data. You control your own health data, and then you can opt in and out of surveys with hospitals and pharmaceutical companies, and you get a check, every so often, every time you opt into a study. People's healthcare data is worth hundreds of billions of dollars per year, and the user that owns that data, we don't get any of it. So anyway, I'm boring everyone. There's that. Obviously, there's movies, acting. I'm doing okay there. The UFC work, analyst stuff, all that type of stuff. And of course, the Believe You Me podcast. So yeah, things are going well, Ariel. Lots and lots going on.
And okay, so we know about the eye that has been an issue since the Vitor Belfort fight. You revealed on the podcast last week that since the Gaslam fight, you've been having issues with your quote unquote good eye. Could you further expand on that? What is going on there, and is it possible that both eyes end up in the same spot, or as long as you're done now, you're okay with the quote unquote good eye?
Yeah. So yeah, as long as I'm done, I think I'll be okay. I'm still going to get some checkups. So what happened was after the Gastelum fight, we went to an after party, and it's really accentuated when it's dark. So we were obviously in a nightclub, and it's very dark. And every time I looked to my left, I could just see a flash of light. And I'm thinking at first, is it, the lights in the nightclub or whatever? And I kept just looking to the left and looking to the left. And every time I did it, I saw a flash of light. Now, of course, I've got experience knowing what the symptoms of a detached retina are. And, I started panicking. So I left the club straight away, and I was very worried. I got home. First thing I did, I went to see a specialist. And I have what's called a vitreous detachment now in my good eye. So you're in between your retina and your lens. There's millions of nerves that are attached to the retina, and they are floating in what's called vitreous fluid. And if I'm getting this wrong, I apologize, but I think that detaches when you're in your 60s just due to old age. But it can detach due to trauma. So that's what happened to me. You've got to be careful, because as those fibers are still detaching, which they are, they can cause the retina to tear. Obviously, that leads to a retinal detachment. So, that was kind of the scenario. And it's okay. My vision's still fine. I still get the flashes now. But obviously, I don't want to repeat what happened to my bad eye with my good eye, So, so there you go. I mean, it's okay. It's all good. I mean, my eye's fine. It is fine. But it just highlighted the fact that, maybe now would be a good time to not get kicked in the head anymore.
Were these the same early symptoms that you experienced with the other eye?
It wasn't actually. No, it wasn't. Very, very different. But I just kind of just thought, wow. Well, even if it is a detached retina, then my word, it's going to be a lot of problems. Even if they fix it, it's going to be it's going to be a terrible time. So anyway, and many things. And as I say, it wasn't just the eye. Of course, that is an issue. I have a bad knee. I took most of last year out due to my knee, and everyone thought, he's ducking people. Even though I accepted Whittaker and Romero, the winner of that fight, people still like to say I was ducking. But my knee still gives me problems. I'm still getting treatment on it 3 times a week, and that doesn't seem to be getting better. I'm almost 40 years old, Ariel, as well. 40 years old. I've had more fights than anyone in the UFC. I've had more wins than anyone. I've won the belt. I've made some money. I've fought literally all over the world. What more is there to do? You would be a fool to carry on taking the damage. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to miss it terribly. I'm going to miss it every day. Every time I watch a fight, I'm going to wish I could do it. So I will miss the sport terribly. I'll still train, still keep in shape. I'll probably still flirt with the idea of having a fight again. So that's why I told the UFC to take me out of the USADA testing pool. So it's not just as easy as, you know, saying I'll fight next month. Now I've got to go through the testing pool again. So, yeah, officially retired on all fronts.
And if you were experiencing this, why did you even consider Rashad? Why did you consider something else? Like, shouldn't that have been enough what you experienced in that nightclub?
Because I believe in myself, Ariel, and I believe that I can still beat these people. I know I can still beat everyone fucking out there, you know? So I'm thinking, okay, all right, well, I just won't get hit. I just won't take any damage. I'll really apply myself in this training camp. I'll do this. I'll surprise everyone and come out there and use my grappling for once. Or you know what I mean? There's many ways you can look at it and try and break it down. So I thought, fuck it. And my wife didn't want me to do it. She was begging me not to. And you know, I actually accepted the fight in London in March, and I was so excited to do it. And then you know, the deal kind of fell apart. So probably a blessing in disguise.
Do you regret taking the Gaslam fight?
You know what? It would have been the perfect ending, I guess. You know, to fight a legend like George St. Pierre in Madison Square Garden. You know, lose the belt and then say, you know what, retired. That would have been perfect. It would have been. You know, but first and foremost, the reason why we do this fight, so we take fights and we take these risks, is to make money. That's what we do it for. You know, and that's why I started doing this. You know, I started doing this to become a fighter. My goal when I got into the fight game was hopefully, because I left school at 16, and my goal was to make enough money from fighting to be able to go to college and get a trade or get some kind of training in something so I could get a decent paid job. That was my goal, and it far exceeded those expectations. So the point I'm making is that I do it for money, and I was able to get a quick turnaround, no fight camp, nothing like that, and go into that fight. Now, looking back in hindsight, it was a big mistake. I was overtrained. I was malnourished. I was weak as a fucking dog. You know, I was. I was just. I remember once I was in Shanghai and I looked at myself in the mirror and I'd lost all muscle tone and stuff. I thought, Jesus Christ, look how skinny and pathetic I look. You know, it's just too much. You know, so but it is what it is. I still thought I could beat him, and I still think if I was to take a rest and have a proper training camp, I could have won that fight. But you know, fair play to him. He caught me, and well done. So yeah, no regrets, Ariel. No regrets.
Not a single one.
I don't know. I'm often filled with regrets if I look back at past interviews. I think, holy shit, why did I say that? You know, I often cringe a lot. So regrets maybe in that regard. But listen, you know, you play. I'm very thankful for the career I've had. I know, you know, everyone that supported me in England. Obviously, thank you so much. My wife was just incredible. She was, you know, she was a huge catalyst in me being a fighter and looking after me and helping me through everything. So I can't thank her enough. My parents, my family, they all supported me. My children, my son, Callum, he's my biggest fan. Everybody, you know, it's been amazing. It really has. But, you know, you play these games. This is the way it goes. The life of a professional fighter, it's not an easy road. I did it. I got out on my terms, made some money, won the belt, set some records. What more do you want?
Is this easier because you were champion? For the longest time, I thought you would be. I feared for you that you would be the greatest fighter to not just not win a belt, but to never fight for a belt. And that always seemed wrong to me. And then you finally did it under the most amazing circumstances. Do you feel like if you never got that opportunity to fight and ultimately win the belt, this decision, verbalizing all this, would have been a lot more difficult?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I always knew, you know, it was my destiny to be world champion. Even when I was a kid at primary school, elementary school for you guys, you know, even back then I knew this was all I was ever good at, fighting. You know, this was all I cared about. It was the thing that I was most prideful of. You know, when I was a little shit on the streets, getting into street fights all the time. You know, I could beat anyone, and that's how that was my identity, rightly or wrongly. And of course, wrongly for any kids listening, it's not a smart thing to do. But I had nothing going for me back then. So yeah, not winning the belt for sure. That would have been well, not fighting for the belt, not winning the belt. Yeah, it would have been much harder to walk away.
I will never forget talking to you in Montreal. We sat down in your hotel room prior to UFC 186. You were fighting CB Dollaway, and you were coming off the first loss to Luke Rockhold. I wish I had the clip queued up here because it's just an unbelievable clip. You know, after the Rockhold fight in Australia, I think a lot of people thought, all right, that was probably your best chance. And here we are in April, so just 4 months later, and you're saying, I'm going to win this fight, and then Rockhold's going to beat Chris Weidman, and then I'm going to come back, I'm going to win another fight, and around this time next year, I'll be fighting for the belt, and then I'll become UFC champion. And you said it so nonchalantly, so matter of factly, and I have to say, I didn't say this to you at the time, of course, but in my mind, I was thinking, well, this is a little bit sad. Maybe I appreciate his, his self belief, but I just don't know if the cookie is gonna crumble this way. And lo and behold, you did it exactly. Like you almost called it to a T. Did you really
Yeah.
believe? Did you really truly believe? Now, can you say after the fact? Did you really believe it would play out the way in which it did?
1,000,000% I did. 1,000,000%. When I said those, I wasn't talking shit. I wasn't trying to big myself up for the sake of, no offense, Ariel, the few people that watch your show and they think, wow, he's really good. I'm saying it because I believe it, and I believe I could beat Rockhold in that first fight, I have a bad eye. The vision is kind of restricted on that one. Blood was pouring into my good eye. He had a lot of lucky things in that first fight. I couldn't see shit. But I sparred with him and kicked his ass. I knew I could beat him, and I knew I belonged, and I knew I wasn't finished. And Jason Perillo, I've got to give him a special shout out. I haven't mentioned him yet. Jason Perillo did wonders, working on my confidence, working on my mental calmness. I used to be an emotional wreck, still am somewhat, but I used to be, an angry person, and Jason worked on me, getting me to calm down and things like that, and so I've got to give him a very special shout out. If it wasn't for Jason Perillo, I probably wouldn't have become the world champion. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And to Brady Fink, Scott Prohaska, Darren Morris, all coaches I've worked with, you know who you are. But yeah, for sure. And, right before that first fight with Luke Rockhold, we did the press conference. And I did a quick phone interview, and I forget who it was. It was one of, the bigger named MMA journalists. And he said to me, Mike, you lose this fight, it's over, right? It's over, you're done. And I'm like, no. And he said, well, of course, because you've been close so many times. You lose this fight, you're done. I said, well, I don't see it like that. I lose this fight, I go back to the drawing board, of course, but I ain't going to fucking stop. I ain't going to stop until I get that belt and keep working towards it. And I think that's what everyone needs to realize, and any young fighters out there, or whatever it is in life that you're trying to achieve, you're going to get setbacks. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get hurdles. People tell you to go away. You're not good enough, whatever. Keep working. Keep trying. You got to be dedicated. You got to have a plan, regardless of how outlandish it sounds. If you put a plan in place and take those first steps, you're one step closer to achieving your goals, and don't take no for an answer, and Jesus Christ, I'm living proof of that.
Were you always that way though, or is this something you developed over time? In other words, when the 10-year-old, 11-year-old Mike, would he kind of give up when the going got tough, or has this always been a part of you?
Yeah, it's always been a part of me. I've never been a quitter in my life, Stubborn, you may call it. Stupid, you may call it. But, yeah, I guess that's always been me.
It's incredible when I think back to 2006 when you won the Ultimate Fighter, when you were on that show and ruffling people's feathers, and you and Matt Hamill and all the, like the moments. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just most fights, most wins, all that stuff. It's obvious to ask you. 199 is the obvious one, but is there any sort of favorite moment that sticks out that doesn't include 199 that is maybe a bit off the beaten path? Something that you
Yeah,
always hold in
well,
high regard.
yeah, absolutely. Of course, winning the belt, that's bound
Yeah.
to be the immediate highlight. But then the one before it, Anderson Silva, beating Anderson in London, in front of my home people, nearly getting finished in the third round, my face literally hanging off, covered in cuts everywhere, an absolute bloodbath, fighting through that adversity. I'm glad that happened, because it made the story so much better. And I got emotional after the fight in the octagon. I shed a little tear, because that was a guy that I'd looked up to for so long, and I knew I could beat. I always knew I could match up well with him and I could beat him, but I just never got a chance, But to do it in the way that it happened, yeah, that meant a lot to me. That was a huge moment.
And that night, June 4th, exactly 2 years ago, like do you relive it now? Oh, I remember what I did that morning. I remember what it was like when I got to I mean, that's a night that you will remember until your
Yeah.
last breath. What is it like? It's not that long ago, but it feels a long time ago, right? I mean, it's 2 years is
Yeah,
nothing.
no, it does. It does. It's flown by, but it does seem like a long time ago. I've never, I don't know why. Maybe it was the short notice or something, but I've never felt so confident going into a fight in my life. Never felt so confident. And then even when, if you watch it back and you see we try to touch gloves and Rocco's like, no touch, no touch. And I said, no touch. I'll touch you in a second, motherfucker. You know, and the fact that, yeah, and you can hear it, I'm saying, I'll touch you in a second, motherfucker. The fact that I'm so calm in my mind to be like, you know, coming out with witty remarks right before the fight starts just shows how calm and in the moment I was, you know. And so, and a lot of that was down to Jason Perillo again and all my coaches. But yeah, it was a great moment and I'll forever remember it.
What was your favorite part of that moment? Was there something privately with your family? Was there something that we didn't see? Is there one moment that sticks out of that moment?
Um, yeah, for me it was afterwards, just in the car with my wife and my children. Yeah. Anyway, you fucking asshole, Ariel. Hello.
Why am I? No, I'm letting you. I'm letting you
Yeah,
digest
no,
this.
you got me a little choked up there. No, I was with my wife and my children, like most people probably doing something flashy, whatever. But I dropped them off, I drove them home, dropped them off. All right, then when I met my friends and got a little too drunk, whatever. But yeah, it was just getting in the car from the arena with my wife and my kids with a gold belt on my wife's lap. You know, never thought that moment would ever happen.
Wow. Was it just you guys, or was there anyone else? Was it just the Bisping family?
Yeah, just us.
Wow. Was that done by design?
Pardon me?
Was that done by design?
No, it wasn't. No, it was just one of those things. You know, obviously my wife had the kids and, you know, they got to go to bed. So I'm like, I'll take you. You know, and we got in the car. As I say, it was just a beautiful moment. Kids in the
Yeah.
back of the car, belt on my wife's knee, driving home. You know, she was there every step of the way, always believed in me. And now she has the world belt on her lap. You know, it was just, you know, amazing.
I can't imagine like the conversation. Do you remember the conversations in that car? What it was like back home?
Yeah, it was just disbelief, to be honest. Even though we were all confident, and my wife always believed him. It was just disbelief. Just couldn't believe it. That, you know, the journey from, you know, I used to sleep in my car to now living in California. We're sitting in a nice car, driving home with a world belt. You know, just the journey we've been on. You know, my wife wanted me to retire that night. That was the plan. But I said, listen, if you think I'm going to retire in the cage after knocking out the champion, you're crazy. You know, so yeah. There you go. That would have been nice, though. It would have been nice.
No, you had to see what I don't think anyone blames you for you had to enjoy the spoils of being champion after all these years. I think you would have
Yeah.
regretted that even more so, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
And now you have a son, Callum, who I name drop almost every week on this program, third ranked wrestler in the state of California. We're not talking Idaho, Montana here. We're talking about a state that breeds wrestlers. This is incredible. Is it inevitable that he will follow in your footsteps? Do you think he will become an MMA fighter?
Come here, Callum. He's waving his hand. He's off school today. He's
Oh,
very sick. And he's in the background begging right now, shaking his hand, saying, I can't talk, I've got a sore throat. But I don't know. Callum's a really smart kid, you know, and he's very level-headed. He's an amazing wrestler. If he wanted to do it, of course he could do it. The wrestling is there, and, you know, he's my son. If he wanted to be UFC champion of the world, I have no doubt in my mind he could achieve that. But honestly, I think there's better things for him in his future. You know, he's a really smart kid. He can do anything he wants in this world. Anyone can, you know, but you've got to be realistic. You know, you can't say everyone's going to be a world champion because the physicalities of that don't lead to it. But sit down, recognize what your skill set is. Everyone's good at something. Everyone's got a skill. Then think of that skill. Think of what you can do with that skill and what's the furthest you can take, and then start putting those steps into action. You know. Anyway, my son, yeah, he could do that if he wanted, but you know, I see him using his brain more.
I will genuinely miss your other son, Lucas, and his fight week predictions. And he always bet against you. I will miss that. I will miss that. That's the best part of Embedded. I hardly watch Embedded now. We're not going to get that
Yeah.
anymore.
No, they were awesome. It was funny, obviously, because when I lost to GSA, that was the only time he predicted me to win. So everyone said, you know, it's Lucas's fault. But yeah, no, that's great. That's his personality. He's hilarious.
And Mike, if I told you in 2006 when you won the Ultimate Fighter that the career would go this way, but unfortunately you would end up with a bad eye and this eye, do you take this? Is this worth it for you?
Um, yeah. I mean, as I said before, this is who I am. This is what I do. This has been my identity, and I've always been a fighter. And now I find myself, you know, in boardrooms, as a businessman, which I never thought would have happened. So life is a crazy thing. It's a wonderful thing, the journey it can take you on. So, but if it wasn't for the fight, if it wasn't for all that, I wouldn't have all these amazing opportunities at my feet right now, and all this kind of happened over the last couple of years. It's crazy what having a belt does to you. You get a few more opportunities, a few more doors open, figuratively and literally, of course. So yeah, as I say, no regrets. I've got to thank the UFC as well. I do. I mean, if it wasn't for them, then being a professional fighter, mixed martial artist, and making money out of it, it wouldn't have happened. So I've got to thank all the team over the UFC, Lorenzo and Dana. Thank you very, very much as well, of course.
Did you hear from them after you made the announcement?
Yeah, Dana gave me a call. We had a nice conversation.
Okay.
Listen, I know you and Dana don't exactly get along.
No,
but,
not true.
Yeah, you're probably good now. I know you've had your moments, just like me and Dana. But listen, he's always been true to me. He's always been great with me. And as I say, a lot of opportunities for God knows how many main events all over the world. Of course, I earned that as well. I recognize that. Don't get me wrong. But still, it takes two to tango. And if there's no UFC, there's no Michael Bisping. So, forever grateful.
Two more things. Can you say with certainty?
Yeah, because I gotta go. Because believe you me, it's due to start in a minute.
Listen,
so,
Michael, you don't retire all the time. I'm sorry. This is a big deal. All right. Two more questions. I'm sorry. I'm trying to celebrate you. This is all about you.
I know. All right,
Jeez,
please go
now
ahead.
you're gonna make me feel all guilty that I kept you too long. I mean, really. I have guilty conscience. Anyway, two more things. I promise. Then I'll leave you alone for a very long time until next week at least.
No. Call me whenever you want. But let's go.
Okay. Can you say with certainty that you're done? We know how retirements go. People come back all the time. Chuck Liddell, for God's sakes, was in the studio just a couple of weeks ago saying he's back. Are you 100% done?
I'm done. It's over. I've loved it. It's hard for me to say that, but I'm done. Simple as that. You got to know when to walk away, and I'm walking away. Yeah, I still want to be involved with the sport. I'll be working as an analyst, hopefully a commentator. I'll be, still working on UFC tonight or whatever happens over at ESPN. I've had a confirmation of that. I'm involved with UFC gyms. We just bought the rights to UK UFC gym. We're opening 110 gyms over the next 10 years in the UK. That's one a month for the next 10 years. So any franchise partners that want to be involved with the UFC gym, give me a shout. I own that. I've got a lot of shit going on, Ariel, and right now is the time to walk away. And I'll forever miss it. I'll hopefully train some people down the line. I feel like I've got a lot to offer, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge of the fight game, and I would love to train some fighters when the time is right. And dedicate myself to that. Who knows? Maybe one of my children might be that person one day. But yeah, it's over. It's done. Thank you, everybody.
And lastly, and I know this is a complex question to ask someone, but because your career has seen so many different iterations, you were kind of the bad boy of tough, and then the Matt Hamill fight, and then you were kind of, a baby face, if you will, and a villain, and then you were back to baby face, and then you were a champion, and people loved you, and then people got annoyed with you as a champion, and then they loved you when you said goodbye. I mean, there's been so many, ups and downs with your career. How do you want people to remember Michael Bisping? When they say Michael Bisping in 50 years, how do you want people to remember you?
Yeah, I have been asked that question. I've never really given it much thought, to be honest. Just that basically, I was a hardworking guy. I was game. I always took on all comers. I never ducked opponents. I never took steroids. I did it the hard way. Blood, sweat, and tears. Lots of sweat, lots of blood, lots of tears. I shouldn't be sitting there having a conversation as being a world champion because physically I was never that impressive. I'm not the strongest guy. I'm not explosive, none of that. But I'll fucking fight anybody, And, I made it work for me. I did. And, through blood, sweat, and tears. And just know that, anyone can achieve anything. And I like to think that I'm proof of that. And when you think of Michael Bisping, just think of, there was a guy that never turned anyone down and took on all comers. Did it the right way, did it the hard way, did it the clean way. Yeah, there you go.
Congratulations, Michael. I don't know what it is about you, but you get me emotional. I've told you this before. My first live event that I covered, UFC event that I covered, Tough 3 finale. First event that I ever bought a ticket for, UFC 78, when you fought Rashad Evans. The interviews that you gave us, the time, the sit down in Montreal, the walk and talk in London. My whole career I thought was over the night you became champion. I was banned from the building. I mean, there's just something about you that it just makes me very emotional. And it's been such an honor to cover your career. It truly has. And we're going to miss you so much. I know you'll be around, but just having you as a fixture in this sport for these 12 years, it has really been a massive privilege and honor to cover you. And I'm so happy that you get to go out on your terms as a champion, respected and beloved by all, trailblazer, pioneer. You really did it all. So enjoy it. Enjoy this new chapter. I wish you nothing but the best. And from this show, thank you for always being accessible and coming on. Even that week after you won the belt, you came on and you were always so great. So thank you for everything, Michael. I really wish you the best, and hopefully we can work together soon in the future as well.
Ariel, thank you so much for those beautiful words. They really are very, very kind. I know everyone's probably listening thinking, for fuck's sake, can we move on? I'm going to throw up in a minute.
No.
But yeah, thank you, Ariel. You were always a great supporter. I always enjoy coming on this show. You're great at what you do. And yeah, truly, thank you, everyone listening. Cheers. Thank you.